So good day. We're learning Hechaltzu. We're in chapter 22. Since you have your new sefer, use it. Chapter 22. You got it at the oil, so it has more significance. So the Rebbe Rashab now is continuing his theme about the letter Yud of the Shem Hashem. And Yoini, when you learn Chassidus, and which you've been learning for years, you understand that these concepts aren't just Kabbalistic. You know, the way you grew up, and the yeshiva you grew up, and things like that, you should know Rabbi Hutner knew a lot of Kabbalah and Chassidus. You should know that. But he didn't transmit that to the students for whatever reason. But when you learn Chabad Chassidus and you understand it, then it's not just Kabbalistic ideas. You see how it actually plays out in your own life. And that's what the Rashab is doing. And Sholem Ber, the fifth Rebbe, who's the author of this Maimer Hechaltzu, he teaches us that there are 4 letters in the name Hashem, the holiest name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And the Yud is a small little letter. So he says, what does that demonstrate? What does that point to? That Yud is the idea of Chochmah, the geometric point, the initial flash that enters your mind. So, for example, you're in the in the real estate management business. You come up with this idea, this great genius idea, how to do something innovative in your business. But that's only an idea. It's an akuda. If you or someone else with you, whoever, doesn't develop the idea, you could be a genius of geniuses and coming up with ideas, and it's meant gurnished, nothing, it's nada, efes. Why? Because it wasn't taken from the level of idea to the level of development. So the Rashab is talking about this first simply to understand the mechanics of Yud Kei Vav Kei. And once he'll finish explaining the mechanics of Yud Kei Vav Kei, then he'll follow through with the application. And that's the style of Chabad Chassidus. And Chabad Chassidus is not a quick fix. It's just not a quick fix. And that's why, truth be told, most people don't study it, don't have the patience for it, and don't know it. Because it's not a quick fix. It's not just about jumping around and dancing and singing, and which is wonderful, 100%. But if you want to understand concepts of godliness and really understand it, like you learned in Yeshiva, Gemara, Rashi, and Tosfos, so you have to, there's the Gemara, and there's the way Rashi understands the Gemara, and there's the way Tosfos understands the Gemara. Then you have to ask yourself, why doesn't Rashi accept Tosfos' way? And why doesn't Tosfos accept Rashi's way? Then, and the difference between Tosfos and Rashi in the Gemara, then you understand the Gemara. Then you can say, I know the Gemara. Not just I know the Taich, and even if I know how to make a leinin, which was a big thing for us in Yeshiva, if you remember, to be able to read a piece of Gemara on your own, without your Rebbe teaching you, and you got it. Wonderful. But now when it goes to Rashi, especially Tosfos, it's a whole different level, right? The same as with Chassidus. There is the reading of the Maimer or the Tanya or whatever you're learning, and there's reading the words, nice ideas, but to understand it in a way that you could say it over in your own words. That's the proof, Menashe, to whether one understands anything. Can you say it in your own words, not be a copycat and just repeat what it says on the page? So let's go.
Rebbe,
yes.
Rebbe, one thing, I don't know if you purposely left it out, but I mean, this is just personally. I think it's, yes, 100%, it's definitely an avodah, and you have to put into practice. But I think, and this is just me, the whole point of Chassidus, and this is what I feel from when we learned Tanya last year, is to take what we learn and put it into practice. How do we become a mensch? What do we do every single day for Am Yisrael, for other people? What do we do to work on our character? whereby in Gemara there isn't a practicality to the sense of what are you going to use it, what you learn. Like, how are you going to learn about, if your ox kicks my ox and I have to pay for that? Meaning, how is that going to help me in everyday life, aside from intellectually?
Right.
Intellectually will help. But it's not going to help me refine my character necessarily if I know about different things that, it's not, it's not Allah Chamaisa.
Right.
It's Allah Chamaisa. I'm taking something, I'm learning the Chassidus, and I'm going to use it.
Yes. Well said. And thank you for adding that. Let's go. 22. Chapter 22. V'hinei b'pchinas his galus hanikuda the yud yesh ba beis madregas. When the little yud, which represents the intellectual concept, is revealed, there are 2 points. Ho'alef, k'mei shehu b'pchinas tzimtzum v'helem ba'atzmi adayin. There is the first stage, the way it is in a contracted form within itself, as we learned in the previous chapter. Shehu mashal yuchol lavi b'hispashtus hasoga leirich v'reichik v'yatzerich l'mukablim. And at that point, it is undeveloped to the point where it can come and be received by a recipient with length and width, meaning with intellectual length and width, with an expansion, so that the recipient should be able to tackle it. The Yazgalos Hurak ben the Kuda Levad Hamavrik b'moichoi. The revelation of the little Yud is within himself like a flash. It's not yet crystallized into letters. That should be able to be grasped and understood in length and breadth. Next page. I believe we're on page 185 or so. 185, 84, 85, 86 now. Top of the page, I think. Excuse me. This will be understood. An example of a man, bebali seichel, God of great intellectual power. He's always coming up with profound ideas. It is impossible for him to reveal or explain that in a way that the others should comprehend. Although to he himself it shines, it's clear. Nevertheless, it's not settled or grasped within the intellectual faculties of his own soul. What?
This is what we learned in the Chasidei Mubarak when it's talking about when the Rebbe is not able to explain to the Talmidim in a way that they can understand.
Right.
He knows the stuff, but he can't bring it down to the kids.
But he's saying, even by him, by a teacher, it's merely regarding the Talmidim, it's what you said, it hovers over them. Just like in a lightning flash, the concepts are not yet defined and envisioned by him, even in the form of a defined point. So for he himself, it's adequate because he's so smart. For him to have it in this kind of brief, geometric way, a flash, it's adequate. He understands it in his mind. So to him, it's called a revelation. He has been revealed this idea because he understands it. But to the others, Lo yuchol lovely de gilui. It cannot be revealed. Kiyim kasher bo b'tzir nekuda mugbelas b'chinas tfisa, unless it first takes the form of a point, which can be grasped, and then it can be developed. That's the way the others, the recipients, can follow. This grasping is refers to the power of Chochmah. It's not similar to the concept of grasping from the perspective of understanding of Bina. The Tfisa, the Bina, the concept of grasping from the perspective of Bina, it is Shenitfas Hadover Basoga B'Nimi Protim. The idea is grasped with many details. The whole prat hu mugbalat, when every detail is individually defined. Mashenkin, conversely, by contrast, Tfisa the Chochmah, the concept of Tfisa from the perspective of Chochmah, it is Shenitfas Hadover B'Nekuda Klolis Hadayin. It is only grasped in an encompassing way. Shekolo in Yesichli Nitfas B'Nekuda Echot, that the concept, that the entire concept is as one comprehensive point. Since it's grasped in a point, not in a detailed manner, it shines. In other words, it illuminates. Wow, I have a great idea. So when you say, I have a great idea, when something, right, you grasp it, but in what way did you grasp it? You didn't grasp it intellectually where you can now enumerate how this idea is a great idea. You just know, I got it. Right? So it is a grasping, but it's a chokhmah grasping, not a bina grasping. That's what he says. It's explained elsewhere that when many particulars of a concept are revealed, the original light is obscured. But whereas when it still exists as a point, then the subtle light of the idea shines, is within it. You hear that? The more obscure from details, the more the light shines. It's true. When you have an idea, once you start developing the idea, as wonderful as development stage is, the idea flash becomes less and less. You understand? It's. In other words, once you get dressed, once you dress up the idea is not in its pure form. And when it's not in its pure form, the shine, the illumination, let's use that word, the illumination becomes less and less. Whereas when it's more abstract, so true, I don't have the details, I only have it in an abstract form, but there the illumination is more. And he says, therefore, the way the idea is in Chokhmah, it is not limited by the understanding. Once you start understanding Yoini, Benasha, what happens is the idea becomes limited. It's brought down, Chokhmah is called water, and Bina is called firmament. The Maya Naidi v'yochalav become a form. Water is fluid and it can come in many forms, whereas the heaven, the firmament, is already, it's sealed. It is what it is. It's firmament. So why is that? Because Chokhmah, being that it's just the idea, the flash, it has more of the illumination, and the illumination is limitless. He says, another parallel. If father's seminal drop, the semen, contains the genetic code for all the limbs and organs of the body of the child to be born. Nevertheless, the form of the child has not as of yet become entirely defined and is subject to change. The Adar Boyim Yoim Mahani Tfila Lishtanis. The Gemara says, until 40 days after conception, prayer can affect a change in the gender of the fetus. Right? So what do we see? We see that until 40, it's still, the seminal drop is still in its pure state. So if it's in a pure state, it's open to changes. So if you pray and you want a boy and you know that it's going to be a girl somehow, right? The Chazal say your tefillah can accomplish that it can change if that's what you want, whatever. Mashenkein, Rakia, conversely, the firmament, it's congealed water. Mashenkein, Rakia, who aglidu the maya, it's water, but it's been congealed. So it's comparable to the fetus after 40 days from conception. The fetus has become reformed in the womb of the mother. Then you can no longer alter the state of the fetus. It's either a boy or a girl. So too in the moral, when the concept has become understood and grasped incomprehensively in details, also b'bchinas hagbala mamish, it's literally limited. It won't change from the way you comprehended the idea. It's locked in. But the idea, the way it's pre-comprehension, i.e., it's in the state of chachma, it can be expressed in many different ways. The chachma who gam came tfisa legabel mailim emenu. No, I'm sorry. V'nimtza. Oh, hold it. V'nimtza. What he's saying here is v'nimtza. He sums it up. The nekudas, the chachma, ein der b'chinas tfisa adayin legabe bina. The geometric flash of chachma is not yet grasped by bina. Because bina's grasp is one of actual limitation. This type of limitation doesn't exist in the realm of chachma, as explained earlier. If Yoni says, if you compare the idea of chachma to higher than chachma, then chachma itself is also limitation. So in this scenario, till now, he was talking about the comparison between bina, understanding, and chachma, the flash, the idea. But he says in the parentheses that you should know that if we compare chachma to higher, not chachma to lower, chachma to bina, but chachma to its source, then chachma is also a limitation. Okay, we'll stop here, and Mr. Shem, Monday we will continue and today is the Rebbe's wedding day, his anniversary, Yudalet Kislev. So he got married in 1928 in Warsaw, Poland. It was a day of celebration, Thanksgiving, and all that. And the Rebbe said in 1953, on this day, I think it was Shabbos, there was a Farbrengen, and the Rebbe said, this is the day which connected me to you. Because who was the Rebbe at the time? The previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak. So, even though the Rebbe is a Schneerson and a great son of the Tzemach Tzedek, but the lineage went through not his great-grandfather, the oldest son of the Tzemach Tzedek, Reb Baruch Shalom, but actually through the youngest son of the Tzemach Tzedek, Reb Shmuel. Right? The previous Rebbe's grandfather was the Rebbe Marash, Reb Shmuel Schneerson. So, the Rebbe said that I became connected to you, to all you Hasidim, through marrying my wife. He didn't say those words, but that's what he meant. So it was a very, very powerful statement to understand the connection that the Rebbe had to his father-in-law and to the lineage of Chabad. Again, although he's a Schneerson, a great-grandson of the Tzemach Tzedek and the Alter Rebbe and everything else, but there's thousands of Schneersons. There were thousands. Many probably, got killed or whatever the case. But there were a very large family. So what makes one special over the other? So the Rebbe made that statement. Now for us Hasidim, Yoini, it's now, it's 70 years later. In a sense, the Rebbe is special because of who he was. We don't need, in a sense, we don't need his, I'm special because I came I married my wife. I came into her family. Lubavitch Chassidim of our Rebbe didn't they couldn't relate to that in a way. In a way, I'm saying in a way, because what, you're not good enough. You are good enough. You're holy enough. You're a big tzaddik. So everything has to be put into perspective. It's not a contradiction. There is the kind of...
Was the Rebbetzin cousins?
Yeah.
Were the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin cousins?
Yes.
What number cousin?
Distant cousins, but they were cousins. In other words, the Rebbe's great-grandfather and the previous Rebbe's grandfather were brothers. You hear that?
Yeah.
So it's the Rebbe's
like second cousins.
Like second cousins, yes. So today is an Eid Yeshama B'Yari Yehuda day. I came home and I sang the song for my wife. She thought we're getting remarried today. I said, no, it's the Rebbe's Yudalit Kislev. She knew it was Yudalit Kislev. I took an aliyah in shul, and we should be zeicha to see the Gula Shleima. Have a great Shabbos, everyone. We'll see everyone next week. Take care.
Well,
Bye-bye. Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
Shabbos.
Bye-bye. Good Shabbos.